think it's petty. You know what I mean? I think for hip hop music, there should be more people that are showing more love. You know.
Is this it?
Yeah.
Is this it?
This is it.
Okay.
Here's the thing about starting these things. It's usually like, it's just from normal conversation to like, bam, here we go.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you just...
That's the way I think the best.
Working the internet, and then I hear bang. Oh, shit. Is that it? Are we start? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're starting. This is
Welcome to the Audio Station Podcast.
Hello.
We are bringing the music back to life, basically, in this music-filled city. My name is Lewis.
And my name is Andy. Andy Dinner.
Yeah.
That's my real last name.
Yeah, that's a real last name.
Yeah, it's not
made up. I thought you were
up.
kidding. I remember the first time you introduced yourself to me at that bar, the Refinery.
Yes.
And
local watering hole.
you were dating one of the bartenders there, and someone introduced her. Well, she introduced you. Like, yeah, this is my boyfriend Andy Dinner. And I'm like, oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Hilarious. Yes.
And then like,
'cause I'm a treat.
After you came back and I thought it was just like a really strong bit. You're just not letting go.
There are times I literally have to pull out my fucking ID.
Yeah.
And be like, no, this is real. I'm not making this up.
Is that like British? What's that?
It's Scottish. It's a
Scottish.
Scottish last name. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm a whole bunch of different European things mixed together.
That's what I love about Toronto. There's just all sorts of multicultural things and names and like all like points of view even that I've never even considered before coming to the city.
Yeah.
I was personally born in Mexico.
Yeah. I found that out last week. I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, you wouldn't tell by the accent.
No.
A lot of people think, oh, you're from Mexico. Where's your accent? And where's your mustache?
And even like I met your dad last week too, and I was like,
he does not look Mexican.
What?
No, I know.
I know. It's and then, I mean.
Yeah, no, it's.
And then
like,
again, it all goes back to who gives a shit what you look like. It's about what's on the inside.
That's really what I was gonna say. Like in Toronto, at this point, it's a pool of all the cultures and like the best of all the worlds.
And I love it, and I love asking people questions about that kind of stuff, and that's what makes us us.
Yeah, totally.
You know, that's what makes our music scene so vibrant
and so rich too.
Yeah.
Actually, in the city this week we have Jazz Fest going on the whole week. And the weekend.
Yes.
I actually went to a show on Friday. Sorry, it was Tuesday when I just saw you. That day.
Was it? Oh wow! I lost all track of all days.
Yeah,
so
it was Anomalie and this band called Nowhere.
That's the one. Yeah.
It was it was an amazing act from Montreal that they did a whole bunch of really intricate jazz and funk arrangements that you would only get in like production through a computer. But these guys do it live, like flawlessly. And Nowhere is like around the same sort of vibe. It's like funky, indie, psychedelic, kind of electronic. And they're just really out there, really original and kind of weird, but really original.
Just for everyone else, what was the name of that artist or band?
Nowhere.
Nowhere. Okay.
Yeah, it was the duo. It was the girl, Genevieve. And then the drummer, his name's Lewis. They're both hilarious. They have this one song in their set where it's they're all playing instruments and they put them down and this dubstep song comes on and they start doing this, like literally just with like sunglasses and it's just them and
just
it's
raging out.
It's weird.
It's
weird. But we got Gordon Lightfoot at Massey Hall tonight and the next 3 days actually for the full weekend. Up until July 1st.
Book it out. It sold out every show?
Yeah.
God, good for him.
Yeah, they added a third show.
Good for him. He's still killing it after all these years.
Yeah.
Same with, you said Jethro Tull's coming as well?
Jethro Tull is coming in July 3rd.
July 3rd. We got Steely Dan on July 1st. It's like...
It's packed.
These guys are... all of them are still around.
Yeah.
Like...
It's amazing that, like, our... people after a certain age don't just quit because they got the status and the money and all the things. They keep going for like artistic integrity. I really admire and respect that a lot.
And I'm still surprised, Steely Dan is still playing because,
When did Steely Dan start? When was that whole thing?
I believe it was 1969 is when they started.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like going on 50.
Yeah.
My math is off.
I mean, you have
40 years,
you have,
50 years.
It's Donald Fagen and Walter Becker are the two main guys behind Steely Dan, and Walter Becker died. I believe it's September 3rd of the past year, and
It's heavy,
like,
man.
You know, like the fact that Donald Fagen's able to continue. It's like, I mean, yes, to be fair, like Steely Dan is a lot of studio musician based music, and it's absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect and absolutely precise. And these guys were maniacs in the studio, maniacs in the studio. I'm gonna try and pull it up super quick, but it was the album Gaucho by Steely Dan, which took them over 2 years to record.
2 years?
Over 2 years to record, and they had like multiple $1 million advances, and this is going back to the like early 70s, I believe this one was.
Damn, that's dedication.
Yeah,
That's because back then it wasn't so easy like it is now to just get a recording down and get it going. But yeah, Ralph actually
1980. My apologies. Was when 1980. It took them 2 years in the studio to record it.
still,
And I remember something that they went through like 11 different engineers, and at least 42 studio musicians, because they're like, I don't like the way that you're hitting the snare drum. You're fired. Call the next guy. I swear to God, I'm not
that's
making any of this up.
extensive. Wow.
Yeah,
that's
and like
dedication.
they had to like, I can't remember which band member it was, but they're like, they were absolutely losing their mind. It was like months of just trying to get this like perfect snare hit.
Yeah,
like, just,
nobody
like-
would do it.
Like I want
properly.
them like, and like the way that, and they ended up like basically inventing kind of like this makeshift drum machine, and it's like, and filled everything like.
Oh, really?
They
They'd
couldn't
use,
get
like,
anyone to
triggers?
hit the snare drum the way that they wanted it
That's
to.
pretty
Like,
innovative for the 80s, to
they
be
were
honest.
they were psychopaths. They were like people they're like, but the thing is back then, if you got asked to be a studio musician
Yeah,
on a Steely Dan album,
you did it.
that is the most badass thing
Yeah,
that
you don't
you
even ask
can do.
questions.
That's like
Yeah,
the equivalent of Kendrick Lamar asking you, "Yo, did you want to do a verse on this track?"
Yeah, that's
There's
as big as it
nothing
gets.
right now. There's nothing bigger than that.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the kind of musical impact that Steely Dan had. It's the second time that I'm going to be seeing them, and I absolutely cannot wait, and I'm internally
Ecstatic.
freaking out.
Yeah, I could tell, man. Yeah, I've
jacked
since I
up.
met you, you mentioned that was one of your favorite bands.
Yeah.
Also tonight, though, Ralph, a really popular, really awesome pop artist, is playing at the Great Hall. I personally went with her to Vancouver back in September last year to do a couple of recordings over at 606 Studios over in Vancouver. It was an acoustic set, and I was just doing behind the scenes, sort of like testing and just mainly recording all the behind the scenes stuff that you don't catch on the actual film. And I got to know Ralph, and I have tons of love and respect for her. She's killing it right now. She's super good. Great Hall today. And Homesick. We talked about Homesick, right? I don't know. For those of you that might not know it, every Friday at Sneaky D's, they have what they call an emo night. It's labeled Homesick, and we're actually going to have one of the DJs from there come in next week. Alex Payne.
Yes.
Shout out to Alex Payne.
She's absolutely hilarious. Wonderful human being, and full of energy and like a huge passion and dedication to what she's doing. Like I had we did some business together about 3 years ago where she was actually interviewing me for something, and now the tables have turned, and now I'm going to be interviewing her. And when she started, she wasn't doing any of this.
True.
So this all happened within the last like 3 years, and she just kind of exploded. And
Wow.
like
That's fast.
she's like either at a show or working a show like 5 or 6 days a week.
Man, that's what makes a difference between like
She's
just
hustling.
a hobby and like an actual job.
She's hustling.
Yeah, like
hard.
people take their career seriously enough, they will actually make it.
Yeah.
Like Exhibit A, right? 3 years ago, like nobody knew who she was.
No,
Now
people knew
she's-
who she was. She's been like.
But
been
she's built
for
a
as long as
name
I've
for
known
herself in
of
the
her.
last
She's
3
always
years.
She's definitely like solidified herself and like
yeah.
you know all about it. Good for her. Good for you.
And consistency.
Yeah,
right?
keep it up. Like you're just killing it.
Yeah.
And if you keep on doing what you're doing, boom, you
Mm-hmm.
might get out of this city.
July 4th, Chromeo at the Danforth.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's some funky stuff for all you funk lovers out there. And if,
Fancy footwork.
yeah, if you like R&B and hip hop, which is actually going to be what we're going to be talking about today mostly, Tory Lanez at Rebel, July 4th also. That's going to be a big show. Try to get your tickets early because Tory Lanez kills it. But yeah, what we're listening to now is September Fades by Ralph. I just mentioned her. She's a phenomenal artist and she's up and coming.
This is her. Okay.
Yeah. It's like new disco, sort of like pop vibes, you know?
I love disco. Like honestly,
I love
from,
new disco.
I come from a huge metal background, hardcore music.
Yeah.
You know, but I also low key, I love disco, man. Like I can't get
Don't
it. Like,
let the metalheads hear you.
They'll slaughter
they'll
me. Yeah,
stab
they
you.
will sacrifice me to the Slayer gods.
No joke.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't care.
So, okay,
bring it on.
Starting off with your musical taste, what gravitated you, or what music genre do you think you gravitated to the most? Starting off, like you were young, you were 10.
When
8,
starting off,
Yeah.
my a lot of it, I think a lot of people can relate to this. Is like you listen to what your parents listen to in the car when you're driving places, right?
80s,
so I
classic
know
90s
every
stuff.
single word to ABBA Gold. I know, I swear to God, like every word to ABBA Gold. Styx Greatest Hits album.
Yeah.
I know every word.
Wow.
It's bad.
That's impressively scary.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Impressively scary.
Def Leppard was a huge one. So it's like,
Man, that's an inspiration for me too.
like
One fucking arm drumming.
that
like,
guy had
that's
one arm
nuts.
drumming.
Yeah.
Like you're in the car and you're trying to like, air drum and you're like, oh shit.
He's got one arm.
No, he's only got one.
He's got one arm.
He's got one.
It's fucked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but good for him, man. Like
Seriously.
what was
seriously.
like you just was on a motorcycle one day and was
Yeah, I
he
think
super
that's
high
what
on drugs, I
happened.
think.
I don't know about the drugs, but I remember
If that's not true, I apologize and please don't sue me, but I thought he was on a massive amount of drugs while he was on his motorcycle.
It would make
Could be wrong if I'm wrong.
It would make sense, honestly, if
Then
it did
you just-
happen that way. It could happen to anybody.
Yeah.
It's a tragedy, but
But you know what? Perseverance, man. He overcame that.
so you
And
gravitated towards, like, I guess your parents' favorite music, 80s type of.
I didn't
like,
have a choice.
70s.
I didn't have a choice at that
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
right? Like, once in a while I would hear like a Metallica song or
You're like, what the fuck is that?
or like my next door neighbor actually, his name is Angelo, and he introduced me to the heavier music. Like he was like, hey man, check out this album, and then put on The Great Southern Trendkill by Pantera, which for like someone who's in like grade 3 or 4 at
That'll
that
kick
time,
your ass.
I was like, and
Wake
the
you
album
the fuck
starts
up.
off with
Yeah,
right, and
yeah.
like I'm sitting there and I'm like,
What?
what the fuck is your CD player like possessed by a demon, dude? What the
Yeah.
I had no idea, and like I shit my pants, not literally,
You know what,
but
man?
I
Yeah.
was like, yo, it immediately had an effect on me.
It makes you feel something that all other types of music can't.
Once you know, and I knew the second I heard
Once
those
you know,
first.
you know.
Right, and speaking of Pantera, Vinnie Paul died last week. Drummer of
rest in
Pantera,
peace.
rest in
Yeah.
peace.
Yeah,
He
that
was
was
like, as I said, he was one of the reasons that I entered that heavy metal, genre of music and really gravitated.
Same. Dimebag Darrell is like
Dimebag-
the whole reason I wanted to even shred in the first
Dude,
place. When
dude.
I heard Vinnie Paul died, and I was like, well, rest in peace to the guy, because
Yeah.
he was getting old, and like, after
Whoa,
he,
dude, he's like 54 or something like that.
I mean,
man.
old,
Like,
right? Getting
then
old.
again, massive
like,
amounts of alcohol and drug use will, have its effect on
Oh,
your
yeah,
body,
it'll-
I think.
It'll take a toll, man. Like,
Yeah.
like the way those guys from Pantera used to party back in the 80s, 90s.
You ever
that
watched
was,
any of their movies? Their like home movies that they made?
they were
That
fucked.
shit was out of
They
control.
used to get hammered and do the stupidest shit.
Hammered was being like very, very,
It's just raw.
man.
It's like raw, yeah.
It was amazing.
So, yeah.
Rest in peace, Vinnie Paul.
Rest in peace, Vinnie Paul, and like rest in peace to XX. A lot of people hate on the guy, but he had some artistic integrity, in my opinion.
And he's still a human being. Everyone makes mistakes. Everybody fucks up, and he's still a young guy. And
Yeah.
he was murdered in cold blood. That sucks.
We should talk about that. I think we should. This is a good time to introduce our guest, ADRIAN ROHOMAN. I'm not pronouncing that properly.
We'll get him to pronounce it properly.
Yeah, but we're gonna bring on our guest right now. welcome back to the audio station. We're here with Adrian, my good friend.
Peace. How you doing, Lou?
Oh, pretty good, dude.
Good,
Pretty
good.
good. Just want to introduce you a little bit to our audiences here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm an artist from Toronto. I'm now living in Mississauga.
Cool.
I started writing music since I was 11 years old, so
It's really young, man.
yeah.
I guess I never asked you this. Were you born in Toronto?
Yeah.
So
Born in
you're
Toronto.
born and raised in Toronto.
Born and raised, yeah.
What
yeah.
neighborhood though? That's important.
Well, growing up, we moved a lot, so I was almost in every neighborhood.
Like maybe
Dufferin,
Parkdale.
Eglinton, Caledonia, Jane,
True, like
Islington,
okay.
DuPont. I was
West,
all over the place.
Northish.
Yeah. So
West side.
most likely the West End. Yeah.
Cool,
You could say
cool.
generally, yeah.
Yeah, man. I came to Canada when I was 9 years old in 2003, and
Okay.
DuPont, Dufferin area, and like West End.
Mhm.
Now that we're living in Etobicoke, just like it's been the West End for me. So like pretty much the same.
Right.
But that's awesome, man.
Mhm.
And actually, Andy, I never asked you, what is it? Are you just an Etobicoke?
I
a
am,
dweller?
yeah. I'm Etobicoke my entire life. Born, raised, always lived in Etobicoke.
Represent.
Yeah, but like I mean, you tell anybody from Toronto that they're like, that's not Toronto. It's still Toronto. My phone number
Etobicoke's
starts with a
Toronto,
4,
yeah.
and my postal code starts with an M. I am in Toronto. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the outskirts of Toronto. Like,
Yeah.
After you get to Mississauga, that's like a different vibe, a different city for sure.
Yeah.
But,
Quiet town back there.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
it's a pleasure, dude. For just to fill the audiences in on like what's been happening with Adrian, he and I met at a AV call as a stagehanding. It was a stagehanding call over at the MTCC.
Yeah.
And we struck up conversation. Turns out we knew a lot of the same people in the hip hop scene, specifically Julian Clark and Charles Collymore.
Yeah.
He had already worked with Charles, and Charles is a really good musician and a bass teacher and a mentor. I really respect that guy. He's in a band called Fatback, who does awesome R&B and hip hop stuff. If you haven't checked that out already, please do.
Yeah, he's a great musician.
Amazing. And then one thing led to another, and you were trying to start your own music project called Speaker's Corner, right? And then the next day, maybe 2 or 3 days after I met you, you had called me, and then there was like a room of musicians, and I had already met the trumpet player, Ryan Seabury.
Yeah, so everyone knew each other. It was unique, man.
It was serendipitous to say the least.
Yeah.
But it's just to prove the point that hip hop scene is so intertwined. Even if it's not directly, there's a lot of like links in terms of like who knows each other, who knows what, and like the scene is just like it's pretty tight compared to a lot of cities.
Yeah.
But yeah, like what inspired you to get this hip hop group together on top of like just doing your own MCing or your own tracks or your own solo thing? What made you want to have like a band backing you up?
Well, with the band, it sounds much more musical. Being on stage.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to feel alone with the instrumental, right? I want to.
Because then you're just playing the tracks.
Exactly. I want to communicate with the instrumentalist and have the instrumentalist communicate with the crowd as well, because it's music when it comes down to it, right? So
we've got the squeakiest door in the studio.
WD-40 up this. Sorry, just to chime in. It's funny how, because I've been listening to your music for the last couple of days. And one of the things that I noticed you just said is like you love it because it's very musical and like it adds a whole lot to the performance. But one of the things that I realized or noticed while listening to your music is it has such an old school vibe. And what I mean by that is it's very simple beats, right? It's very like hi-hat, bass, snare drum, just very, very simple, very clean. Because a lot of music these days, it's all boom, like
crazy,
a lot of
it's overproduced.
The beat has the beat is what drives you in. But with you are all lyrical content and flow, which is the primary thing. Like that's what you focus on, and that's one of the things, like especially in this day and age, that I've with the whole hip hop scene and everything like that, is there's so much that relies on that that heavy bass riff,
It's true.
heavy
Yeah,
bass line, you know.
And
like,
that's what hip hop really started for, or like it was just to like give a voice and truth to people who grew up in like a place where they didn't have a voice. You know, like I don't know how many of you have seen The Get Down, but that's like a great.
I haven't
God.
watched it yet.
Dude, are you kidding
No,
me?
no.
Oh my God, dude, that
great,
show
no.
is
It really.
unbelievably well
Really?
done, man.
It's
Wow.
a great
Very well
reenactment
done.
of how the hip hop scene started in New York.
Right in the Bronx, right?
Yeah, like a Hollywood sort of brushed over version, but it's great. Like it's actually, when it comes to biopics or like
Yeah.
stuff that covers history like that, it is actually pretty accurate from what I researched. And like I wasn't born in the 70s or even
Yeah.
alive.
You
I don't
weren't?
think any of it. Yeah, I know. I
Get
know
outta
my
here.
complexion
You're
doesn't
trying to-
show it,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it was super awesome.
I'll definitely watch it.
Yeah.
I heard Jaden's in it, right?
Yeah, he is. He
Yeah.
actually kills it, man. He does a really good job. It's actually that, if I recall correctly, I don't know if it's changed since then, but it's Netflix's highest budget show.
Okay, wow,
Yeah,
wow.
they canceled it for that reason.
For that reason,
Wow,
because
wow.
it cost, because they
Okay.
went like double-digit millions of dollars over
They
budget.
canceled. I think I saw it recently.
Like
They just did
You
just
mean
one,
they-
season
they-
one.
Oh, okay,
After
okay.
season one,
After
it's done.
season one.
I
okay,
believe
see,
they
see.
made season 2. They didn't go after season
I
2.
think they have enough
Okay.
material
Okay.
still for a season 2, but I don't know what they're doing with it. Who knows?
Yeah, like I really hope they get their funding back up, because like that was a phenomenal show. Actually, a new one just came out on Netflix called Unsolved.
Unsolved, right.
Biggie and
Biggie
Tupac.
and Tupac. Yeah.
Oh.
We watched the first episodes, me and my wife. So
It's good. It's good.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like a good back and forth, like of
Mhm.
2006 to 1997. Perspectives from both like the streets and the cops. It's a reenactment, so it's not a documentary kind of, because there are those
Right,
Biggie
right,
and
right.
Tupac documentaries,
Yeah.
and they're
I think
great.
it's a spin-off of that, right?
I mean, like
documentary?
it's
Right,
based
right.
on that whole story between like allegations against Biggie and Tupac being like not allegations, but rumors that it was
Right.
a police hit.
Right.
Which is the biggest like topic.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
people are like only now, especially younger people,
Mhm.
figuring out that kind of stuff did happen.
Right.
It's like a world away. So having
Right.
these biopics and documentaries that accurately describe what happened is important, I think, to
Mhm, mhm.
cultivate or to keep the culture
It's true. It's true.
like
'Cause
where.
nowadays a lot of people don't know about Biggie and Tupac, right?
And if
which
they
is
do,
weird.
it's just because of pop culture.
Right.
It's not really because they go out and like look out for for the rhymes that they got
Right.
famous for in the
Right.
first place. They're
Right,
just
right.
like, oh yeah, these big stars. I love it when you call me Big Pop,
Right,
but
right,
and then
right.
that's all they know, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But you know, can't hate a legend for like being transcending that hip hop thing and hitting the mainstream either. But I do believe it's very important to like keep the history of music in the conversation.
And that's exactly what I was saying about your music. It's like it brings you back a little bit. Like, I feel like back in the day, like, you know, you have your pioneers like Cardinal Official,
Wow.
right?
Howdy, yeah.
And like that's kind of what I'm not exactly, obviously, because everyone is unique and all of that, but like it feels Toronto when you rap and like and
Okay.
you have your music. Like it feels like Toronto. It feels like, you know, because with hip hop, there's you have your main topics
Mhm,
that
mhm.
keep on coming up. It's like money, cash, murder, drugs.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear any of that from you at all, really.
No,
And like,
yeah,
you know, and
zero.
it's like, it's a breath of fresh air. And it's like automatically, that's the first thing that that really caught my eye and really
Right.
attracted me to your music. It's something different for right now,
Yeah.
Right.
right?
true,
It's
true.
like
Thank you,
you're
thank you.
bringing it back.
It's
and
conscious. It's
I
very
was all
conscious.
about it, man. To be, I'm not here tooting
Appreciate
your
it, man.
horn, like,
Yeah.
you know, and but I mean,
Yeah,
but I
man.
am for a
Likewise.
good reason though, and like
I
I really
agree,
was
dude.
feeling your music,
Thanks, man.
and because a
Appreciate
lot
it.
of the times when I listen to music, like there are songs that I've listened to hundreds of times, and
Mhm.
I only know a couple words from those songs because I'm listening to the music itself, right?
The
And with
production.
you, exact opposite. It's your voice and your content, and then the music is accompanying that, right?
Right,
It's just
right,
like
right.
the music's giving you something to let the artist in you express
That's
yourself,
perfectly
right?
described. Yeah.
And that's You know, and that's why
Absolutely.
I got to give you the credit
Thanks,
and the
man. I
kudos
appreciate
when
it,
it's
Andy.
due.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, just to add on to Andy's point, like the whole reason I was super excited for initially playing bass for your band, for those of you that missed it, yeah, Adrian asked me to be in a part of his project, and we're in the works of releasing new music, but I was mostly excited because of the vibe that you were able to bring that I had not really seen before in the hip-hop scene. In like conscious rap that's not cheesy is such a hard thing to do. You know what I'm saying? Cause
I didn't know that was hard. It was that hard.
Well, that's because it's genuinely
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
from you, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's how
you
other
know, man.
people are just trying to sound clever or wise or smart
Yeah.
without really tapping into
Make
saying
that
something.
witty one-liner kind of like.
Yeah, not
you're
really saying
every line.
anything that's of substance enough to carry a message through. And you totally do that successfully, man.
Thanks, man.
I'm very excited to see what's gonna come out of these projects.
Yeah.
I wanted
much
to
so.
also mention you're an author.
Yeah.
So you wrote your own book and you did the whole research and
Show it off.
yeah,
Show it off.
please.
Talk
So
about
Light
it.
is Here.
Tell us what
It's
it's
basically
about.
an anthology about self-awareness, self-love, and basically how we all communicate with each other. You know?
And I think the world right now needs a little bit more of
Yeah.
that, a little more of empathy and communication. And,
Right. Exactly.
self-awareness is the biggest thing in this world. I mean, wise man once said, if you master yourself, you can master anything, right? Self-awareness is it's key, and it's underestimated how important it is to have a successful mentality behind whatever it is you're doing. You got to be self-aware for sure.
It's true. I find in this day and time, there's not a lot of people who want to understand each other. You know, everyone's so quick to bicker and fight.
Yeah.
But no one's saying, all right, you know what, let's just relax and let me hear what you got to say. You know, and
What
that way-
sucks is the few people that are saying it, they just don't have voice big enough, or they're
Mhm.
just saying it in such a passive way that they just don't get heard.
Right.
So that's why, like, man, I commend you for like having a voice for that sort of message that I think
Thank you.
is important in the Toronto, not even just Toronto, in the world right now.
Yeah, and I think that's beautiful, you know, and that goes right into our great city of Toronto.
Right.
It's you know, because we have all of these different cultures, and like it's such an accepting like place in terms of like the rest of the world. There's a lot of hate for a lot of stupid, unnecessary reasons, and like, you know, it's things like this that really like ties everyone together. And like, we have a lot of different things going on here, and because there's so much going on, every scene is very small and isolated. And, you know, something like this and something like your music, it can bring a lot of people, a lot of people together. And I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you something. Being part of the hip hop scene as you are,
Okay.
how do you feel about like all this hip hop beef that's going around in the mainstream? Like, be it like Push T versus Drake, or like XXX getting shot up in the middle of the streets, or like even bringing it back to the 90s, how it was like very West Coast versus East Coast. How do you feel? Not even just how do you belong in that whole world that exists, but like how what's your opinion on that whole aspect of the hip hop scene, which is a very dominant side of the hip hop scene and world and life?
Bravado.
Right. Okay, I think for the most part, hip hop music, I feel like the elements are losing its elements. And with having beef in hip hop music, yes, it creates some kind of entertainment for those who, you know, just are into gossip.
Yeah, it's definitely entertaining for
But-
those who have nothing else to do.
But for the most part, I think it's useless. I think it's petty. You know what I mean? I think for hip hop music, there should be more people that are showing more love. You know, more friendship. You know what I mean? And not talking about silly things like, oh, you know, you don't talk about your son, or you know, stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know,
man,
like
I hear that.
especially with the Drake and Pusha T
Pusha
stuff.
T.
I was like, what are they really talking about?
Yeah, it's true.
You know, it's nothing about,
What's
you
your
know,
problem?
about what are you guys doing in the community, how are you making it better. It's more
Yeah,
like
it's just beef between
petty
each
stuff,
other.
right?
So we're just gonna. I wanted to show our audience a couple of your songs. So if we'll come back to talking about this stuff. Cool, man. Thanks a lot for that performance.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
That was really enlightening. I'm really, really excited to hear what else you got to like come up with in the next few months. And yeah, we're excited to have you back on here.
Thank you. I can't wait to come back on the show.
Amazing, man. And thanks again for coming out. And I don't know where I put that copy of the book. I think I already stashed it away, and I'm going to steal it from you. So
That's okay.
thank you very much for that. So check out his book for sure. If you want to plug that one more time quick.
Yes, you could check out Light as Air on Amazon. So you could, wherever you are, you could check it on Amazon. You could find the ADRIAN ROHOMAN, Light as Air.
Beautiful. And next week we have two guests that we'll be talking with. One is Alex Payne, DJ for Homesick in Toronto. She just absolutely blew up the last few years. She's just killing it, so I can't wait to have her on. It's been a while since I talked to her. And then we have Brian Moisey, I think, or Moise is his last name. I apologize, but we'll figure that one out next week. But he's a documentary filmmaker. He recently released a documentary about the Toronto pop punk scene. So we're going to be talking with him about that. And
pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, very, very excited. Very excited.
Yep. So again, thanks, man, for coming in.
For having me.
And
killed it.
This guy.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much for checking it out. Thank you.
Yeah, you'll see us back here next week. Thanks to Adrian and Speaker's Corner. Signing off. We'll see you next time. Thanks again. This is Audio Station.